Hello everyone, my name is Amber and the theory I chose for this presentation is group influence. This topic has always intrigued me. I have seen how the influence of a group has changed people close to me and even myself over the years. I hope you all enjoy my presentation. Let me start off with the definition of a group. A group is two or more people who interact with each other and influence each other. Being a part of a group helps us to meet different needs we have as humans. Our first need is to belong or connect with others, and our second is to gain social identity. I'm going to discuss the three different effects that other people have on us. The first effect is social felicitation. Social felicitation is the strengthening of dominant responses. This will either enhance performance of an easy task or hinder performance of a difficult task. One reason we are aroused by the presence of others is called evaluation apprehension. This is when we have concern for how others are evaluating us. This can cause someone to either perform at their best or worst, depending on the task at hand, and how much the person thinks about the task they are performing. This reminds me of when I was younger and I was in Lisa's Twirlettes. I had been practicing a two-spin. This is where you throw the baton up in the air, you spin around twice, and then you catch it. I had been practicing this so much, and it seemed like every time I tried to show all of my family how I had mastered this skill, the baton would go plummeting to the ground before I even finished my two-spin. I was failing because I was overthinking. When it was competition time and I had to perform my routine, I nailed the two-spin without even thinking, and I won first place. I didn't have time to overthink this trick, and I completed it flawlessly because I was being judged and I wanted to succeed. This is a prime example of social felicitation. The second effect is social loafing. Social loafing is the tendency for people to not try as hard when they are in a group that is collectively working towards a common goal. Studies have shown when the size of a group increases, the effort that is given decreases. Studies have also shown that if people are working with a group of friends or peers that they will be interacting with on a normal basis, there is a lot less social loafing. This theory makes me think about when I was in high school and I had a group project in English. Most of my group was made up of my friends, but there was one person who wasn't a part of our crowd. That person did not give their best effort. The task that they were assigned to help contribute to the project wasn't done to the best of their ability, and the rest of the group had to redo those assignments so that we could all make a great grade. This is a prime example of social loafing. The last effect I will be discussing is de-individuation. This is the loss of self-awareness in a group. Self-awareness is when your attention is more focused on oneself. You're more aware of your attitudes and actions when you are self-aware. Self-awareness is the opposite of de-individuation. De-individuation is when people are more focused on the situation than themselves. This effect theory supports the saying, everyone is doing it. In a group, a person may act differently than they would if they were facing a situation all alone and are held accountable for their actions. This effect makes me think about peer pressure. Someone being pressured to take a part in activities that they wouldn't normally do. Activities that they may be against but are persuaded to take part in because the entire group is doing it. Now I will discuss three examples of social influence. The first example of social influence is group polarization. Group polarization is when the decisions and opinions of people in a group setting become more extreme than their actual privately held beliefs. There are two different types of group influence. The first is informational influence, which is the results from an individual thinking that another person's information is more accurate than their own. This is when an idea is discussed in a group and the group members share their viewpoints on the idea. The group members all discuss the idea and may learn something new and then change the way they think about the idea because they never thought of it in that way. The second type of group influence is normative influence. Normative influence is when we are led to conform in order to be liked and accepted by others. I feel group polarization and the influences that are grouped under this theory are the most common types of influences people face. The second type of social influence I will be discussing is groupthink. Groupthink is the practice of thinking or making decisions as a group in a way that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. Two symptoms of groupthink that lead group members to overestimate their group's might and right are an illusion of invulnerability, and that is the excessive optimism that blinds a person to warning and danger, and unquestioned belief in the group's morality. And that is where the members inherit the morality of their group and ignore the ethical and moral issues that they may be facing. Two symptoms that cause members to be closed-minded are rationalization, which is when a group justifies their decisions, and stereotype viewpoint of the opponent, which is when a group thinks that their enemies are too weak to defend themselves or not intelligent enough to know the right answers. Lastly, there are 4 symptoms of groupthink that cause pressures towards uniformity. Conformity pressure, and that is when one is rejected for doubting the way the group thinks or acts. Self-censorship, which is when a person in the group doesn't speak their thoughts because of fear of disagreement. Illusion of unanimity, which is when members perceive falsely that everyone agrees with the group's decision. Silence is seen as consent. And the last symptom is mind guards, which is when group members appoint themselves to protect the group from information that might threaten the group's complacency. All of these groupthink symptoms can produce a failure to look at all of the possibilities that are out there. Groups aren't all bad, and there are ways to prevent groupthink. You have to remain impartial, encourage critical evaluation, divide the group into smaller groups to discuss things, and then come back together so you can get different viewpoints. Welcome outside critiques. Make sure you have what is called as a second chance meeting to make sure that all issues and doubts are discussed and resolved before making a final decision. Taking these 5 steps may take longer to make decisions, but it will be more effective. The last example of social influence I will be discussing is the minority influence. Most of the time, the majority rules, but a consistent and confident person can be persuasive and persuade the majority to change their opinion. Leadership can be viewed as minority influence. Leadership is when an individual motivates and guides a group. There are 3 different types of leadership. The first is task leadership. Task leadership is when one organizes work. They set standards and they focus on goals within the group. The second type of leadership is social leadership. Social leadership is when a person builds teamwork, mediates conflict, and offers support to the group. The third type of leadership is transformational leadership. This leadership is when the leader identifies the need for change. They create a vision to guide the change through inspiration, and they execute the change with the commitment of the members of the group. In conclusion, groups can be good and they can also be bad. Groups can cause one to lose their self-image and conform to the way that the group thinks. But groups can also be very good. When groups are positive, they can be really, really good for people. A really effective group is one that is supportive and causes a person to grow. I hope you learned a lot from my presentation, and I hope that you have a better understanding of group influence. Thank you.